What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, I want to talk a little bit about the SPS Flywheel and how it compares to the Terra Luna Flywheel. And we've covered a lot of this stuff in depth in the past, so this may be either a refresher or actually what it's more targeted at is for newer folks that may be coming and checking out Splinterlands or are just wanting to get deeper into the ecosystem of what this SPS Flywheel actually is. And what I want to go over is why the SPS Flywheel is better designed, two important ways that it is better designed than the Terra Luna Flywheel. Now, keep in mind, take this all with a grain of salt. I'm not an expert in this stuff. I have been following this project for several years, and I was involved with Terra Luna, or at least I was following that project while it was active. Again, I'm not an expert in either of these things. This is not financial advice. This is just an exercise in hopefully entertaining and educating folks on what Splinterlands is trying to do with its tokens by modeling them after the success of Terra Luna. I know people are going to laugh at that because they're going to say, what do you mean success of Terra Luna? Well, Terra Luna was highly successful. It did become, I think, somewhere in the top 5 overall market cap before it was actually attacked and brought down due to a fatal flaw, the death spiral that happened with the project. So either way, it was a fatal flaw. It's like the Death Star getting, one shot blows up the entire thing. So it was poorly designed, and I do think that the Splinterlands team has made various changes, which we're going to cover here, that I think create a better design. I'm not saying it's perfect, and I don't even know, there could definitely be ways in which it could be attacked in the future, but hear me out. I'm just going to talk about the two things that I think are highly important for people to understand when comparing the Terra Luna ecosystem with Splinterlands and the success of the Terra Luna ecosystem when it went from basically nothing up to a top tier project before the fall, obviously. So let's actually talk about that real quick. The first part is the ability to go back and forth between Terra, right? Luna and UST. UST was the stable coin for Terra Luna, and it was algorithmically created or algorithmically designed where you could burn Luna tokens for UST, but you could also burn UST back for Luna. Now, with the design for SPS and DEC, which model that, right? So SPS is similar to Luna, and then DEC, Dark Energy Crystals, is the kind of like the stable coin for the ecosystem, for the Splinterlands ecosystem, that it resembles UST or US Terra. So the ability to burn SPS for DEC is a part of that, right? But you cannot burn the other way back. And kind of to compound the benefit of this is the fact that there will only ever be 3 billion SPS tokens minted. Now, you can see that we've actually burned over 100 million already, so the highest possible is less than 2.9 billion, and the only way that we would mint more SPS tokens than that would be through a governance proposal, right? The white paper has already stated this, so you'd have to get the entire community's feedback and have a super majority, right, 67%, that vote to add more. And I think at this point, I don't think anybody wants to add more. Maybe that changes in the future, but right now I view it as a benefit that I think most people would be against it. And it would actually be a huge red flag for me if people started to want to print more SPS rather than transferring all of that SPS utility to DEC and then burning that DEC in game. So that is the first part, right, where you cannot go back and forth. You cannot burn DEC back into SPS, right? So SPS, it's a one-way transaction. You burn SPS, and there is a finite amount of SPS that will ever be minted at this point in time, right, unless there's a governance vote. So there will only ever be a dwindling supply of SPS, barring a governance vote, and you can burn that SPS, right, for $1 worth of SPS in USD terms for 975 DEC, or roughly $1 worth of DEC. There's a little bit of an arbitrage kind of block there. So that's the first part. Now leading to the second part, DEC has actual utility. And this is something that I think Matt and the team take a lot of pride on in terms of the way that they've designed it, where DEC, Dark Energy Crystals, are what he calls a product-backed stablecoin, and maybe the first of their kind. Again, this is the first time I've heard this term being used. I haven't really seen it out there. I'm not saying that it is the only one, but it is an interesting concept that I think Splinterlands is either the first or one of the first to really introduce. Now, compare this to UST, where UST was really only backed by the success of the Luna token, and even more so, the amount of UST being printed and minted was something that was determined by the Anchor protocol, for example, where you could just burn your Luna for UST and then stake your UST in this protocol to get a 20% return on a stablecoin. I mean, looking back at it now, it's just like, well, of course it seemed very Ponzi, like we were just printing money out of nowhere and there was nothing really backing it. Towards the end, before the attack kind of happened and the collapse happened for Luna, they were trying to buy Bitcoin in order to back the UST, which is a very interesting concept. And even a lot of Bitcoin maxes were looking at that and saying, hey, here's like a stable coin that wants to back their token with Bitcoin, right? Which is kind of what we want governments to be able to do. They used to back it with gold, and now people are talking about government fiat currencies being backed by Bitcoin or something in the future, right? So it was an interesting concept, but at the time, and during the majority of Terra Luna's success, UST was not backed by anything real outside of the Luna token. And again, when you get to a point, speaking of the collapse, when you get to a point where you lose confidence in both, right? And that's exactly what happened. Somebody tanked the price. I think it was a couple $100 million to tank the price and the value of both, and the user base got completely lost faith in both tokens and created that death spiral, right? Because you were burning back and forth and it didn't really matter anymore. So the difference is with a token like DEC, you cannot burn that back for SPS. The only way that you can burn it or use it is in-game within Splinterlands, right? You can use it in the marketplace. That doesn't burn it. But there are a lot of sinks in which you can actually burn the token. So whether that's buying energy, whether that's using it on land, whether that's... And land, there's staking, but there's also abilities to burn it there. Using it on guilds to burn DEC. And we know in the future, right, land, there's going to be building upgrades that'll probably require some kind of DEC, or more specifically, it'll require resources that you'll have to buy with DEC. The circulating supply of DEC is something that is really important. It's something that we track here on Splinter cards, right? There's 5.2 billion DEC, and you can see that we were coming down, I think, from 7 billion DEC maybe 18 months ago, and it was a slow and steady grind, and obviously now the amount of utility has increased, both with the launch of Rebellion as well as Land, so we do need this DEC out there in the ecosystem. And as hopefully the ecosystem continues to grow, we'll need more and more DEC. But like I said, there are burn mechanisms in place. So when you burn that SPS, which is finite for DEC, and this is the only way that you can get DEC now, is through burning SPS. There used to be other ways that it would be minted before. For example, we had them coming out in the liquidity pools as rewards for a while, but thankfully we shut that down. So the fact that you can only get it through SPS means that we're going to burn a finite amount of SPS over time, and then you're going to have this finite amount of DEC that is, technically infinite, because you could burn as much SPS as you want, and the higher SPS goes, you can burn even more DEC. But as it stands right now, there's only 5.2 billion, and if we continue to use it in the game, right? And this is why it's a product-backed stablecoin. So if we continue to use it in the game, and the team continues to deliver products that we enjoy, whether they are Splinterlands directly, or, and here's the cool part, and this is something that the team is even exploring for something like Soulkeep, people can build within the ecosystem. Complete third parties can come in and actually utilize the tokens here, right, or utilize DEC specifically, and potentially burn it or do something to add value to the token. Again, all of that translates back to SPS. So you think about the fact that, at least when I was watching Terra Luna, I got in at $6 and it went over $100, right? So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with SPS, but as utility for the token increases, both direct utility for SPS and then indirect utility for DEC, where people will need to burn either the SPS that they have or go out on the marketplace and buy SPS to then burn it for DEC, because buying it on an exchange is going to move the price too much. Well, all of that value is going to transfer back to SPS, and thus hopefully create the SPS Flywheel, where we're at 3.7 cents now, and who knows where we go during a bull run if the team can continue to deliver and the products are good and the community is healthy and engaged. But that is kind of like the basics for this, and why, in my personal opinion, I think the SPS Flywheel is much better designed than the Terra Luna ecosystem. It has a lot of the things that work very well, and it's accounted for two of the major flaws or utilities or lack thereof of utility that didn't exist within the Terra Luna ecosystem. Again, I'm not saying that this is perfect. This is not financial advice, but it is exciting to think about where this project could go if the team continues to deliver. So that is going to be a big part of this, and I would highly recommend you do your research, join the town halls, join the community if you're new to the space, and understand what the team is trying to do, what their goals are for 2024. I have a video on that as well. But I do think that they're going to come out with a roadmap for that at the end of January. So I'll go ahead and leave this video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have any other or further questions, I'll be happy to answer them either in the comments or in another video. But that is all I got for you guys. Have an amazing rest of your day. I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.